What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Mystery Files, and today I got not only a great story for you, but I also got kind of a big announcement. Okay, remember when I put a poll up and asked you guys if I were to create some bonus system, with rewards? Would you guys prefer Patreon or that join button that's right next to the subscribe button once you have subscribed? And it came up even. They were like, do both, because some people like to join, other people like Patreon. So Patreon will be coming next week, but as of right now, I just created the join button. So as you can see right now, you can click join, and don't worry, you can click it and it won't automatically join you, but you can click the join button and then see the 5 different brackets that I put up, including mysterious mercenaries and true crime junkies, paranormal hunters, the secret society, and then of course the top one, the Midnight Mafia boss, which I don't expect anybody to get that one, but still I put it out there for you guys, and believe me, some of the rewards are pretty cool. Like in the first one, you get a couple little things, you get to chat. In the second one though, you get release of these videos early. Not only that, you get an extra video every month that nobody else sees unless you're a member. And if you go to the paranormal one, the third one, then you get 2 stories every month extra. And then the tier above that, Secret Society, you get to be in my video. Yes, you get to choose what video you want to be in. And you may play a small or big part. It depends mainly on you. But you also get to pick at least 3 stories for me to do every year. So like every couple of months, you get to choose a story for me to do. I hope you guys will join, and I hope you guys at least think about it, because supporting me and supporting this channel really would mean a lot right now, and because I got big plans for this channel. But to do that, I unfortunately need your help, or fortunately need your help. Either way, I love you guys. Also, I want to let you know that I decided it's a new year, so I want to double my efforts this year, and hopefully the YouTube algorithm will pull me up once I do. We can hope, right? But because of that, I still need you guys to like these videos as much as possible and share them. But I decided I'm going to start doing, regardless, 2 stories a week. And the more likes that you guys get me, the more stories I will do. But I'm at least going to be giving y'all twice a week, hell or high water, because I love telling stories now. It's my thing. I dare to say it's my career. And that's all I'm going to do, is tell you stories that you might want to hear, you might not want to hear. You might want to hear, but then you find out you don't. Or you might not want to hear, but you find out you love it. Either way, that's it. Just like the video and share it to a friend, a family member, to a bowling league. I don't care. It all helps. And I want to thank you guys truly from the bottom of my heart for helping me along this way and establishing this channel to where it is right now. And remember, this is just the beginning. Okay, now that that announcement is out of the way, today I'm going to do something I've never done, right? I got a crazy paranormal story for you, which I don't get it. This is true. So it's like, why hasn't this been on the news every day for the last 50 or 70 years? I don't get it. But there's Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3. I thought, why not tell Act 3 first? Give you a little reverse storytelling. I hope you guys enjoy it. So as of now, it's time to slip into a mind that's not our own. Let's go. 30 years gone, yet Korea still haunts Army Private Francis Wall. That frozen, rigid encounter with inexplicable alien forces left the soldier unmistakably changed, in trauma deeper than shrapnel. Beyond just some nervous tics from sustained injuries, Wall found even routine public spaces somehow alien thereafter, flooded by these memories violating human comprehension. He only prays that humanity avoids what his unit barely survived through. See, unlike common belief in technology ever steadily lifting our species higher and higher, Wall's tragedy revealed brutally unmatched planes both checking and fostering mankind by default. So in simplest coffee shop terms, the young company had accidentally kicked a superior nest not theirs to rattle, and barely escaped flames future generations may foolishly rekindle, disregarding all cautionary tales whispered on cold mountain winds that cut decades long. Now 6 decades later from that ghostly Korea tenure, the stubborn old soldier admits secret relief whenever UFO headlines resurface, affirming that he never merely made it all up in his mind. And the phenomena persist as a memorial and warning etched throughout all who survived breaching the stars early unprepared. For beyond various injuries sustained in war's lineup, Wall has since gauged reality through a surreal lens, arising unpredictably as dreams rewind chilling, unnamed, steer humanity remote with simple tones beyond recognition. Yet mercy hides between every line transmitted since silence first unlatched forbidden gates, permitting frames terrible and resplendent to make exchange. Understanding always finds veterans who listen beyond phantom pain or pride to embrace greater spirit, waiting patiently through war's tears as souls of comrades turned strange shepherd leading all strays home. Now, if you're wondering what the heck I am talking about and what you just missed, let me entertain you with the story from the beginning. So let's rewind. Ice was crystallizing on every inhale as Private Francis Wall awoke shivering beyond his tattered Arctic sleep sack's warmth fading with night's final hours, except no stars illuminated Dead Man's Ridge this frigid Korean midnight. 30 yards downhill, the nightlit skeletal village of Shorewon smoldered softly under winter's plunge towards zero visibility. And it's no surprise that the cooks certainly weren't delivering hot chow this far uprange. But God, just for a hot cup of joe, except only the ghosts gather now in these godless hills, himself and 141 other brother soldiers swallowed up by the looming blizzard, steadily entombing their hilltop camp through 1952's first fraught hours. Maybe hot chow had made the 2-mile slog up frozen switchbacks from headquarters, except not even divine forces could compel Quartermaster Corps through this pea soup murk congealing by the minute. So shivering silently alongside these frigid silhouettes, Wall allowed himself a forbidden swig from his icy flask, bracing against the cutting wind tunneling through their naked ridge camp. Gallows humor murmured about ghouls haunting these endless ridgelines long before 1st Cavalry carved out bloody tenancy. Surely proper provisions would arrive before the next bone-cracking cold front did, and if not, well, at least brothers lay side by side against however night intended claiming them. And then, through the fog, sudden movement caught Wall's eye, and it was a mounted platoon emerging across the valley slowly onto the neighboring crest, except no, only a single bobbing point of light as it was unmoored from gravity. Had all the occult rumors held true? Wall's unit whispered about patrols that have gone mysteriously missing beyond enemy lines. But command wrote off all these cases conveniently as hazard of desertion. Only the number of enlisted seemingly swallowed by night left questions that lingered. At that moment, sharp flashes then erupted from the patrol's rear position, except the staccato rhythm unmistakably belonged to bar fire than any standard infantry maneuver signaling counter-assault, which could mean just one ghastly possibility. Here, 1,000 miles deep in enemy territory, friendly fire suddenly blistered the hillside as PFC Wall's platoon instinctively flattened against the frozen earth, awaiting death from their own entrenched support units. Except Wall noticed these tracer rounds instead passing clean through this hovering orb near where this missing recon team had emerged without altering its strange swaying float. My God, realized Wall. This indicated no weapon forged from metal or explosive payload carried sufficient impact, and judging by the flow patterns, they were shooting at it, which begged the question, had their lost platoon faced such an unnatural trespasser earlier and met their end? And just as abruptly, artillery fire ceased, as uncanny as first witnessed. And from the distant ridge, not a sound echoed in response. Both lantern glow and sudden violence ceased, as if swallowing the entire patrol permanently from history. At this point, dread crept into Private Wall's thoughts, realizing this night held supernatural potency, conjuring things better left buried, including secrets surviving soldiers should have fled screaming from, rather than just stand and witness. Straining through the mist for signs of friend or foe as trigger fingers held numb and breath crystallized in anxious lungs, that nameless orb of light reappeared below, hovering at the village outskirts. Except its illumination turned suddenly scalding intensity like this hot magma, instantly visible for 50 clicks in every direction through this opaque atmospheric conditions, and it suddenly nullified by whatever energy bled from within. Then without preamble, the object vectored directly toward Wall Station, gliding faster than artillery rounds towards right above their position. Men just stood and gaped at the boiling phenom, sweeping to eclipse stars entirely overhead. Except some instinctively opened fire against the light itself, and you could see these tracer rounds perfectly struck their morphing target dead center, which now throbbed from smoldering orange to furious infrared against the blackened skies in response. Yet, the projectiles passed through the translucent sphere without slowing or any deviation, as if striking naught but a ghost. Then inhuman escalation came. Soundlessly, several men simply erupted where they stood. Mortal rounds perhaps shining descent from the heavens. Yet no explosions blossomed. Only more quivering ruby infusions where proud soldiers once stood. A sound and feeling so devastating it could shatter the thickest of glass. All rationale concluded this negligence constituted ruthlessness from beyond heaven. Yet Private Wall perceived intention, or perhaps warning, more than wanton violence in the surgical precision that it did. Something had provoked this celestial guardian. So that orb may somehow stand impervious but not infallible, he gambled inwardly. And as their bewildered CO retreated wordlessly, Private Wall seized iron sights with his trembling rifle hands towards the heaven enigma to test a terrible theory. He exhaled this crystalline breath slowly, 2 ounces of pressure echoing off that high ridge wall as a single armor-piercing round erupted, spinning with trained accuracy directly towards this luminous intruder. And all of a sudden, a resounding ding answered back instantly, not from deflected metal, but from the orb itself, as if crystal itself audibly rippled from Wall's precise injection. Emboldened, Wall ejected 2 rounds more directly into the heart of this throbbing beast hovering pregnant with purpose. Each bullet visibly impacted the orb, now wavering erratically against the winds, emission pulsating wildly through the ultraviolet spectrum. Had Providence itself willed his emotions, toppling this towering alien interloper? Wall perceived profound damage enacted by such primitive ballistics, somehow inexplicably as of having violated fundamental rules of engagement, rules never governing pushback by prey against some presumed cosmic predator. Whatever consequences may come, Wall tallied his righteous last stand with a triumph against impersonal fear incarnate. That is, until the second barrage arrived, of course. And this volley comprised not of hot shrapnel and fire, but pure ivory radiance engulfing platoons positioned entirely withering energy. Sound and time itself seem arrested as an alien intelligence scoured through the souls laid bare through that terrible illumination, both without and within. Eyes clenched tightly against the scouring halo saw light itself projected against the lids, while despairing wails echoed through Dead Man's Ridge as brothers in arms collapsed, violated by this omniscient presence, sifting through secrets never intended extraction. Soon, only Wall remained miraculously standing alone, still sightless, shredding frozen tears, feeling these phantom claws raking behind his ribs. Whatever these forces extracted, underlying human darkness for some omniscient agenda, his Siberian heart in turn recognized steely providence underwritten all creation, from which none hide. War's trauma birthed brotherhood still binding all uniformly earthly or beyond. As quickly as the assault whip-cracked Private Wall senses, blistering scans abruptly ceased, leaving only the wavering orb diminishing intensity against the stars once more. Whatever once filled that ominous vessel, however, seemed evacuating as the craft listed now unsteadily in bitter gale force winds before rocketing soundlessly into the blackened horizon as suddenly as fate first ferried it forth onto Dead Man's Ridge, nevermore to haunt or harass comrades rallied beyond all odds holding fast. A ghostly quiet haunted Dead Man's Ridge through the hours remaining as winter's teeth gnawed frigid dawn from blackened Korean skies. Except a solitary sound fractured the tomb silence. One remaining soldier sobbing among dozens of brothers in arms newly claimed by this spectral reaper. Except Private Wall shed no tears for only the dead. Between chattering pangs of frostbite, blackening extremities, his 1,000-yard stare betrayed anguish for fate cruelly sparing him. Night's harvest to now wander this grisly scene alone until relieved by forces earthly or otherwise. The unnatural pool of darkness at Ridge's edge caught Wall's hollow gaze once more. Where some unearthly craft had hovered, now absent except in miracle or omen, he remained untouched by. What transmissioner verdict had its otherworld pilots delivered before searing night eternally from mines and mountain both? Trying vainly to process the implications of violating interstellar envoys or executioners, Wall gathered emergency flares and provisions before trudging towards headquarters, sentry signals 2 miles into the abyss beckoning eagerly to also swallow his staggering boots. Surely no earthly dispatcher could certify this night's shocking events without swift committal to asylum. Delirium soon claimed every laboring step through swirling snowdrifts before forward momentum gave out against his buckling frame entirely. Like breaching a waking dream, the young private suddenly gazed up upon a donkey cart progressing across the waste. Impossibly had salvation now taken mundane form? But stumbling into the supply convoy's halo moments later affirmed Wall's deliverance beyond surreal fortune. This caravan ferried no foodstuffs or ammunition as hoped at first sight. Rather, the cargo beyond all price now surrounded Private Wall, where fellow shell-shocked infantry hauled in a chorus line of gurneys, all lashed to these creaking wagons. Emaciated eyes dancing in feverish sockets, replaying fresh traumas, while blood seeped from company men's ears onto their frozen china whites in telltale symmetry of close encounter beyond human tolerance. As Wall climbed aboard, mercifully detached from frozen terrain underfoot at last, he committed those horrific visions of comrades fleeing into the night, screaming after. Whatever had revealed itself atop that ridge, except Many had fled the unseen for good. Their remains left clutching escape routes into jagged ravines as the only unchosen deliverance. Piercing walls, soaring temperature and fog of exhaustion, surprising snatches of conversation between drivers, jarred ears and memory simultaneously. Did you hear Delta Company got hit too? Electrostatic weapon or something from on high way I hear it. Burnt them literally inside out till their dying bones glowed within. Then sped off into the night. Not one survivor up there out of the 300 men. This makes how many platoons in the last few weeks? First recon evaporates, but with no enemy to blame? Now, Radio HQ, crushed by autonomous lightning bolts without a cloud in sight? These words coming through, battered, walls throbbing temples, routine wartime graffiti about ghosts in the mountain fog, or baseless gossip about teleporting enemy assassins was the norm for boosting weary morale. Except the uncanny specificity and scale implied something all too frighteningly tangible, boiling from absurdity upon deeper reflection. Had Private Wall's 405th Company faced merely one isolated eruption of this phenomenon evidently plaguing Korea for weeks unchecked, or unconfirmed by CENTCOM intent on preserving composition through silence? How long would the nonchalant extermination of entire American divisions continue before manifesting entities moved beyond remote mountaintop garrisons towards the bustling wartime population hubs in Seoul and Pyongyang? Did intelligence exist capable of repelling such an exotic invasion, moving henceforth with virtual impunity through the two Koreas? And ultimately, who or what pull these strings, escaping trails of deliberately erased witnesses and human wreckage from the war's very earliest months? These cascading horrors paralyzed Private Wall from inside this island of fever dreams secreted from public knowledge. Visions flash familiar from that awful ordeal on high, voices boom. Fools, stand down, lest all below burn for transgressions above your reckoning. Through this constricting stretcher, Wall struggled against vice grips. Had those alien arbiters followed his ambulance's caravan? Were there lingering ultimatums for mankind to master violence and hubris before unleashing worse against himself and fellows around? Yet before acknowledgement fully formed, darkness claimed conscience, leaving Private Wall's haunted outcome along that lonesome ridge road to derelict soldiers and secrets forever buried near the frozen, chosen reservoir. The end. Now that story is an amazing story. And now if you want to watch Act 1, go ahead, and you'll understand that 30, 40 years later, 50 years later, 60 years later, he is still experiencing the same things. He is experiencing these sounds, seeing these same orbs that he saw that night. And why I told that story so different than how I usually tell it is because half of it was almost from Private Wall's voice himself. And I didn't know how to construct this just in first person. So I kind of combined it, and I know it might be a little confusing, but basically it was a ghastly tale of a bunch of soldiers in the Korean War who at first thought they were getting hit by friendly fire. Then they look up in the sky and they see this orb, and the orb is just hovering around. And then they start shooting at it, and the orb turns from like yellow and orange all the way to red, and then just makes this sound and makes these people's skin literally crawl from the inside, like the worst imaginable pain that I can't even fully tell you about because I'd have to experience it. But it sounds horrible, and those traumas forever followed Wall. So imagine that this actually happened and platoons of soldiers died from it. Why hasn't this been on the news every single day for the last 75 years? Why? Why am I just telling you this story now in a little weird of a fashion, but I'm telling you it because I didn't want to just tell this story, hey, an orb came over North Korea when troops were fighting, and yeah, some people got hurt, other things happened, and that's it. No. I wanted to actually get you inside the minds of one of these people, and luckily that's how I found Private Wall. But if this wasn't for you, I totally understand, but if you like this, please remember to leave a like, because it means a lot. Alright, I'll see you next time. Cheers.